You know, it's interesting. This is Marvel's third television show already. Boy, they're moving fast. He's got to move fast. Kevin Feige has a very full dance card. He's got a lot of partners to get to. But this was the first time that a Marvel Disney Plus show acted like a show in confirming another season. Usually it's like, okay, now back to the movies. You know, it was creating this feel that it was a story, you know, characters could exist in either place. And I just think it's interesting to, for the first time, get a season 2 confirmation on a Marvel Disney Plus show. I mean, we're used to waiting for that news to drop all the time on all of our other favorite streaming shows, but this was the first time that we've gotten it for Marvel. Oh, fantastic. Now, it had been revealed a couple of months ago that season 2 of Loki was in development, but as I just said, it was confirmed today at the end of the episode in a really nice fashion. It just so fit with the tone of the show that we're getting a season 2. Now, as for the other Marvel Disney Plus shows, Kevin Feige has not said yes or no to more WandaVision. He's putting a pin in that because her next chapters will unfold in the movies, Spider-Man No Way Home and Doctor Strange 2. And only Kevin Feige and a few people know exactly where her story will be at the end of that. And we don't know if that's a good place for a show or not. Falcon and Winter Soldier, of course, or excuse me, Captain America and Winter Soldier will continue in its own movie, Captain America 4. But I think you might also be thinking the same thing. Does this mean, you know, movie, if Loki's going to season 2, does that mean Loki won't be showing up in any near future films? I mean, they're very crowded. Maybe there's no room for Loki. I think that will be interesting. I guess they did create a situation at the end of the season that he's kind of like stuck in the TVA. He might be hiding out there. I have a theory about that, which I'll share with you in a moment. So maybe that would be an excuse as to why, you know, you would think he'd be running and telling everybody about what's happened. But I think finding Sylvie is probably his top priority. And, you know, he's not a total good guy, Loki. He still, of course, is going to do what's, you know, most important to him. He's not a Steve Rogers who's going to leave Peggy waiting for that dance for decades. All right, so anyway, so much so that many of us felt he didn't want to dance with her. But I think they really fixed, you know, I like romance entering the MCU. You know, I think they haven't really had it for the first decade. I thought one of the most romantic things that happened was that dance at the end of Endgame. But now, smoochy everywhere. I thought WandaVision was very romantic, and I think that Loki has turned out to be very romantic as well. Now, speaking of the movies, it's hard to tell what's going to happen in Loki season 2. Even though Loki is the only show to get a second season, it still is a part of the larger MCU story, which is one long story. And there are a lot of big chapters coming up that will certainly also influence where Loki's going to be by the time they can get to that second season. But I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to try it. I have some of my own theories, and I'm also going to ask the big questions so I can at least point us in the right direction. So the biggest question is, of course, where's Loki? Where the heck's Loki? Now, I was surprised to find out in the comment section on my breakdown that some of you believe he's in a new alternate universe that was just created when the multiverse was recreated. But I don't agree with that theory. I mean, remember I think it's a valid theory, but here's why I don't agree with that. I think that the TVA, it was established, exists outside of the timeline, and therefore one would assume all timelines. So if there were multiverses, a new TVA wouldn't be created because it doesn't exist in any universe. So no matter how many times you stamped one out, the TVA is outside of the loop, outside of the equation. So I still feel it's more likely that a newly created variant Kang, which has been established that those would pop up, Kang the Conqueror, who has all the time in the world because he's a time-traveling villain, well, he took over the TVA from Immortus somehow and reset the variant workforce. I love that, by the way, Immortus referred to them as the workforce. It's so cold and efficient. I thought that was just fantastic. Because they've been reset before. That's how the workforce is created. They take variants and they either prune them and send them to the void, or they reset them and put them into the workforce. And they give them a full set of memories. And they feel like they've always been there. So I think that that's why, you know, Mobius and Hunter B-15 don't have amnesia. I think it seems like they've been reset. That's already been established in the course of the show in terms of TVA mythology, and I just think they're both simple answers, to be honest with you, but I think it would be not simple to have dueling TVAs. I think there has to be only one, organization that's overseeing all this. And so I think that they've been reset with a new leader. But we'll see. That's my reasoning for why I don't agree with this other theory that's been brought up. All right. Now, bottom line about the TVA, it's openly run by Kang the Conqueror. There's no question about that. He's got a suit on. They say, does he, Hunter B-15 says, does he want us to just let them all branch, all these timelines branch? Is he Kang? I don't know if they report directly to Kang. It might be a new judge they're interacting with. We'll find out in season 2. But here's the other big thing that's very important. They don't know who Loki is. That's amazing. What an opportunity for Loki. Once he picks his jaw up off the ground looking at that Kang statue, he's going to see that he has a unique opportunity here. Mobius, who's a Loki expert, asks him if he's an analyst, right? So I'm thinking for season 2, Loki can reinvent himself as a fellow analyst. It's like, are you a god? Yes, from Ghostbusters. Yes, I am an analyst, right? And that will give him full access to all the power of the TVA. Remember, as a variant, he had his hands tied behind his back, metaphorically speaking. They never actually tied him up. Well, kind of they did, yeah. But anyway, he'll have everything that he needs, full access to search for Sylvie, which I think, again, is his top priority. That's a pretty good setup and allows us to stay in the TVA, but unlock a new chapter of storytelling so it doesn't seem like it's the same old thing. Sounds like a plan to me, and Loki's always have a plan, right? Well, at least the good ones do. I love that Loki's like, you gotta have a plan, we're Lokis. Now remember, Sylvie herself has Immortus's original tempad. So even though Kang the Conqueror's variant has taken over the TVA, she still could have escaped into the multiverse. Although, why wouldn't she immediately come and find Loki? She knows where she sent him. That's the other thing. Some of you think it might be an alternate timeline, alternate universe, but she sent him to his, she used the tempad, and I think the tempad is a precision instrument, and so she knows where she sent him. So the fact that she didn't immediately come up and be like, whoa, boy, you were right. We should have thought of that. Like a couple's argument, like, oh, I don't want to hear about it anymore, but you were right, fine. Loki's like, putting that in the bank. But anyway, why wouldn't she come to him? Because killing Immortus, who created the TVA and ruined her life, was literally the only thing on her to-do list. I think she might have added make out with Loki after that, so that was item number 2. So why wouldn't she do that? I mean, Sylvie and Loki's romance is just getting started. So, of course, that'll be a top priority for season 2. I mean, look at that face. We need to make him happy. We need to fix that. And on a side note, I thought it was wonderful that Thank You, Tom Hiddleston was trending very early this morning after the show aired, the finale. And I think Tom Hiddleston, who is also a producer, he's a driving force creatively on the show, not just as an actor, but his acting has been next level for this series. To go from this to that, that's what struck me. I was looking at Twitter to see that Loki was still trending number 1. And I saw the picture from the first episode of him when he lands in the Gobi Desert. And I was like, wow, he has such a different vibe than when I just saw him in the finale. And and he did that in the course of 6 episodes. That's just incredible. That's just incredible. As I said in my breakdown, I think Thor would hardly recognize the guy. I can't wait for Thor to meet this new Loki. I think it's going to be really exciting. Will he show up in Thor Love and Thunder? Thor Love and Thunder is very crowded. That would be crazy if he wasn't in that movie. But again, I heard, a certain Loki variant is supposed to, I believe, show up in that movie. So maybe that'll scratch the Loki itch there. We'll see. But Tom Hiddleston just missed the qualifications for this Emmy window. So I hope he's remembered in the next round of awards, because that's a ways off. But I hope that Disney spends the money in an awards campaign to remind people of how good he was. And speaking of Sylvie and her to-do list, since she doesn't have anything else on it besides go back to Loki, what did happen after she killed Immortus? I think maybe there's a chance season 2 would pick up there, or at least flash back there to find out why, what happened? Why didn't she go right to Loki? I think that is definitely a question that needs to be answered. And where would she escape to? What would she do? If, would she go back to hiding in apocalypses? I guess she could, especially if they reset the TVA. They don't know about that trick still. Interesting. I guess Loki could find her pretty fast, which would be fantastic. He's like, excellent. All right, so anyway, Another unanswered question is, where did Renslayer go? What files did Miss Minutes give her at the direction of Immortus, right? Did he facilitate the rise of Kang the Conqueror? Did he tell her to come find an earlier version of himself? Will it be Renslayer and Immortus versus Kang? That would be very interesting. And I keep going back to that diploma in Rebecca Torminet's office at the school in 2018 Ohio. That is the alias of Renslayer in the comics when she was living with the Victor Timely version of Kang. To learn all about Kang, click the link down below for my video all about his background in the comics and where he's potentially headed in the MCU. But that is definitely something that I think that they could explore here. Or maybe they couldn't. Listen to this. She also in the comics has got the Terminatrix armor, which makes her kind of like, Kang light. So she could either team up with Kang in the movies, because he's headed to the movies, or she could serve as his proxy on the Loki show, right? Their big bad just left, right? He's like, hey, see ya, I'm heading off to the movies. Kang, of course, now could show up anywhere, which is very exciting. But maybe they need to elevate Renslayer to the big bad for season 2 to carry out the will of Kang the Conqueror or Immortus on this show as Renslayer or the Terminatrix. Or, we'll see what happens. But there are a lot of options for Renslayer. And she even now has her own enemy, or is that frenemy, in Mobius. That relationship definitely isn't resolved either. And I'd be very curious. I think they have a lot to mine there. And what does this new version of the TVA do, by the way, right? If they're allowing, if he says you can let all the timelines branch, what's their new directive? The answer to that question could send this show on a whole new exciting direction. Like, what is the TVA's responsibility if it isn't to stop new universes from branching off? As for Mobius himself, fan favorite, we never saw him on that jet ski. Promises, we gotta get that. And now that we've learned who Renslayer is supposed to be, her baseline, the non-variant version, what about Mobius? What was he like in the 90s? Or Hunter B-15? She said she was happy. How about Casey? I want to know what's going on with Casey. Where did they take him from? Now, by the way, it's a bit of a bummer that Mobius will have to build his entire relationship with Loki up from scratch again. Maybe there's a way to get his memories back. I don't want to go on that journey again, quite frankly. But I don't care. I just want Mobius back. Now, speaking of Lokis, there's also the surviving Loki variants back in the void. And can we maybe go find an earlier version or a different timeline universe version of classic Loki? Please? I think we could find a way to make that work. And maybe Loki needs some non-Loki help and non-TVA help, right? Team-ups have worked out very well for the MCU. So you don't even have to get an MCU actor to join this show because, again, we have variants on the table. So you can get a variant of any MCU character, and that could be really fun. And with the multiverse now, the multiverse back, we have exponential number of variants. But I don't think we want to overplay that gag. We have it already established in Loki season 1. Now it's coming in all these movies and stuff. The What If animated series. Will it be played out by the time Loki season 2 comes around? That's going to be a very interesting question. And I think that they're going, especially because they're staying with the TVA, so they're going to have to figure something out that maybe can alleviate that. At the end of the day, you know what they really need to do, what Kevin Feige really needs to do? I think the most important thing is to secure the Loki Dream Team. Tom Hiddleston already secured because he's, of course, the star. That Loki speech that he gave, right, about the background of Loki, he is the walking Bible of the character. But we need director Kate Herron. We need head writer Michael Waldron. I know he's graduating to movies. He's not only writing Doctor Strange 2, but he's also doing Kevin Feige's Star Wars movie. Bring him back. Bring him back. The writing is crucial. I don't trust another. He's the head writer. He has a team of writers working underneath him, so he can maybe dial back his direct involvement. But I don't know if I would make this. I don't see how they could. I think he was developing it in that story, but he's got to be hands-on for season 2. And also Michael Waldron, maybe he could even level up to directing. He's just wrote himself a great ticket here. And then also composer Natalie Holt. I wouldn't forget her. She's definitely a part of the Loki Dream Team. I think if we secure this foursome, I trust them to do anything. Really, really strong group. I think maybe one of the strongest since maybe the Russo brothers. Maybe even stronger. The Russo brothers were really good. Now, as I said at the beginning of this video, Kevin Feige has a very full dance card, and who knows how long it will take him to get to Loki Season 2 and what the MCU will look like at that point. But I do think, no matter what, it will be worth the wait. What do you think? What are your burning questions and theories? Share them down below, subscribe today, and of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.